Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
It's like, you already asked me that.
Woo!
I'm ready. John Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut. Come over the bridge, go 1, 2, 3, 2, go 2, 2, 2. Yeah, I'm nervous. It's making me nervous. You know where we are. You'll find it. Come on the show with me. Have your own show.
Woo!
What else? Like and subscribe. Hit the bell. Get alerts. We are here today. There's a dog here.
This is Harry.
Harry.
Harry's a service dog. He was rescued off the streets of Los Angeles with a broken leg.
Oh.
If you look, he's got like a little, looks like he's doing a ballet move there with one of the legs.
Yeah.
Can you? Poor little thing. I thought he'd have an attitude, but he just loves everybody.
He's got titanium steel.
Yeah.
Anyway, dog owner, David Stadalnik.
Perfectly pronounced.
Right?
First time in my life.
Hey, man.
Lithuanian.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, there you go.
See what I'm saying? All right. David Stadalnik, singer, songwriter. How else? How does one describe? I mean, what's in a label?
International man of mystery.
International man of mystery. There he is, live and in person. Yeah. Yeah, David Stadalnik. I don't even know how to... so I met you making records at Colin
Tilton, yes.
Back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Does everybody know who Colin Tilton is?
Yeah, I think they probably do.
Okay.
Yeah, most people do. And that's where I met you, making records at Collins, and then eventually we made records at Lanes.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
So tell us how you got started in creating music in the first place, because I only met you when we were making music.
Right. So I had two older cousins who came over with a big box of records. And
this is where?
This is in Hamden. I was born in grew up in Hamden, Connecticut.
Sure.
And was in the same graduating class as your friend Dean Falcone.
Oh.
Yeah, and they
did
had
not know that.
Yeah, we had the Squirrels going at the same time.
Oh, really?
We were like a power pop thing, so they would come down and check us out.
Oh, okay.
And we would check them out and stuff like that.
Yeah, I have to tell Dean you were on. I did not know that.
Oh, the thing with Dean is when I'm out, I live in Los Angeles now, and he puts on those pictures of Sally's Pizza, and it's torture because they don't know how to make pizza out in California, so that's pretty tough.
Yeah, when you grow up around here. With that. Yeah. Wow, so did you know John Bryan too?
Yes.
Yep.
We saw John Bryan out in L.A., and he did this really cool thing. He was by himself, and somebody yelled out, "Good vibrations." And he had all these devices.
Sure.
And so he started with the bass, and then he added the guitar, and then he added the and before you know it was like the whole Beach Boys were singing.
That's cool. Did you know him back then too?
Yeah, I just peripherally, mostly Dean, I ran into in high school. They were all in high school.
Yeah.
They all quit high school and became very successful, and I got the high school degree and never became successful. So I don't know how that...
Hey,
I
you're
don't know
here
how
now. That doesn't matter.
That's true.
Dean's been here, but not John Bryan. Whatever. These are just for the real people who make it. I guess. I have no idea. But that I did not know that. That's wild. Dean Falcone connection.
And we had a place, did you remember Ron's place in New Haven?
No.
See, before you were punk rock, when you were still going around in your short pants, I was already in the punk rock scene. They had a place called Ron's Place.
Okay.
And there would be a little river of water and urine coming down the middle of it from the toilet would overflow.
Sure.
And there was a band there called the Poodle Boys. They were the big punk band.
Yeah,
and they were on. They got onto a cover of Life magazine, actually. And we had the same rehearsal spot as they did when I first started.
Yeah.
So they invited me and my band. I had a little 3-piece band. I played bass guitar. Steve Duncombe, he's a professor at NYU now. Okay. He played the guitar. And Ben Goldsmith, he's a professor down in Australia, and just the three of us. And we came in. It was the first time ever I played, and it was leather clad, and they tried to get a screen up so that they couldn't throw beer at your head.
Oh boy, yeah.
And I got stage fright. Right, I was like, "What did I get myself into?"
Right. Hey.
And then
kind of like the dog right now.
So Todd Johnson, he was the Keith Richards of the Poodle Boys, and I thought he was the Fonzie of my growing up. He was the coolest thing, and he told me that if I didn't go out on with confidence, I would be pelted with beer bottles and dragged through the street and
through the stream. They would drag you through the river of urine, the river of broken dreams and urine.
And also, we weren't really punk. We were power pop kind of thing.
Sure.
We were Beatles and Beach Boys influenced.
Right.
And so I went out and I just said, "Oh man, they're going to eat me alive." And I just from then on, it went over great, and that was my first time playing.
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah, it was a good thing in believing in yourself,
sure,
and doing your own thing. And people knew we were doing something different, but they liked it.
Yeah, well, that's all right. You gotta do something different.
So back to your original question.
Yes.
My two cousins, Janice and Barbara, brought over a big box of all the records from the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother had a turntable in our bedroom. And I got hooked on the Beach Boys.
Sure.
And those harmonies, I thought, how do they sing like that? I didn't know anything about musical harmony, music theory or anything. I just thought they must be cool to do all those things. And I thought there can't be anybody better than these guys. And then I got to the next record, the Beatles, and I said, well, I don't know. This is getting pretty close, pretty, So that's how I got into it. And then started writing songs, and started very early. The first, we played at a place called Brothers 3. You probably don't remember that. See, I'm much older than you. I'm a senior citizen. You're still young and full of life.
I guess. Is that what this is? Young and full of life?
And we played Toad's Place,
okay,
which was fun. We played that a few times. One of the guys...
This was the Squirrels.
As the Squirrels. I still have the poster from Toad's Place, Squirrels at Toad's.
I know.
We went out one time. Do you remember the Liberty Bell?
Mm-hmm.
We went out on the Liberty Bell.
Yep, I remember that.
And sure. I had a new guitar player then. He was great. His name was Andrew Catania. He has since passed on, but he was so well loved by us all, and he could really rock and roll. So when... Actually, he came to our gig at Toad's Place, and he was working in the Cello Oyster House. He was a cook, a chef. And I said, we had lost the guitar player, and I said, well, I got a gig at Toad's. We just got to do something. So he would come over, and he just listened to our set without ever playing.
Yeah, right.
And then he showed up, and he had he would just come in from England, so he had a little English accent, and he had a little cross hanging, an earring, and he had dog chains around his boots, and he could do Chuck Berry like Chuck Berry.
Wow.
And I heard it when it happened, and I was like, man, I want to go sit in the audience and listen to this. It was so good. And then we went surfing one time with him up at Newport, and the surfboard hit him in the face, and his lip was hanging out. And we had to cut the lip off and get back to the Liberty Bell gig.
Whoa.
And then there's older people were saying, let's sit by the orchestra. And I said, Ann, you're going to have to tone it down a little bit because they're calling it an orchestra.
Oh, boy.
So we turned it from 11 to 10 and a half.
Yeah, right.
And everybody had a lot to drink and had a good time. Anyways, I feel like I'm talking too much. That's all I have to say.
That's why you're here. I mean, it's either that or silence. So that's fine. So the Squirrels on the Liberty Bell.
Oh, this was I was telling you, this is designed by Peter Stevenson, whose dad was James Stevenson, a children's book author and cartoonist at the New Yorker. And I asked him to come up with something, so this was our little insignia.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
And you got shirts made. I'm wearing one.
Yes.
My own self.
Yes.
How about that?
There you go.
Vintage. There's been two made in history. That's it, right?
No, a few more than two, but not many more.
Not many more. Wow. Double digits or not even? You don't even know.
Oh, I don't remember. I think, well, what I got into with you, John, was then recording the music, because we would play gigs and have nothing to show for it.
Sure.
And that's when I heard something Colin had recorded for a friend of mine. He said, "Oh, that guy sounds like he knows what he's doing."
Yeah,
and
who was it, I wonder?
Pete Capizone was the guy.
Okay.
And he played a tape for me, and I said, because I had recorded with different studios. In fact, we used to record with Dean Falcone in Presence Studio.
Sure.
Do you remember that
Yep.
in East Haven?
Yep.
And then now I'm having a senior moment, the one in Wallingford. Trodnossel.
Sure.
But Colin, I think, had really good ear. I just liked the way it sounded like a live band.
Yeah.
Was what he did.
Yeah.
And he suggested you and Michael Corsini.
Yep.
And then I had other drummers. You played mostly on it, though. I had Chris Capizone played one, Jeff Hyde played a couple, and you played most of the drums. Oh, and Kenny Aldridge played on one.
Oh, right.
Uncle Fred. And a guy from East Haven I thought was very good, Dean Cristiano. Am I saying?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, he was very good.
Yeah.
So people heard the CD and they're like, "God, you got all these great drummers on there," which I was lucky to get.
Hey,
and I
that's
think
cool.
you played most of the tracks.
Did I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were the one who played so good that we couldn't hear the click track.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
We were
'cause
playing that song about the angels that I wrote, Lots of Angels, and all of a sudden it was like the click track disappeared, and my friend Mike Frost was playing the guitar on that, and we looked at each other like, "Where's the click track?" And then it's like, "Oh, this drummer's so good you can't even hear the click track."
Oh,
You've got
because I just buried it.
Yeah, you buried
can,
it.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. I was actually practicing. I was practicing today to a click track, actually.
Yeah.
I still do
Yep.
sometimes.
Yep.
You know, just to kind of, and then I'll bury the click, and then I'll practice on playing behind the click or ahead of the click or
Right.
whatever, just to kind
Right.
of dial it in or whatever. But yeah, I still do that.
Mm-hmm.
I did that today. It's weird. Anyway, it's not always a good thing. 'Cause then you play with other people who don't do that, and the time is all over the place. But I might have gotten myself in this
The reason that I did that was because I had very little money when I was doing like sheetrocking and odd jobs getting my degree from college. And so when I would hire you guys in the studio, it would be like I had worked hours of torture to
sorry.
get there. Yeah, I know. And you guys would torture me, and Colin would,
we did.
Oh, you tortured me. You guys would torture me.
Really? How
Yes.
so?
How so? You had all this attitude and whatnot, but then I learned to love you anyways, John Peckman, despite it all.
It's the way I am. Yeah.
And but anyways, the reason I did the click track for anybody out there who wants to do it is you could. That's the foundation of the song, right?
You don't have to do everything in one day.
So you get it. You get your foundation right. So I would sit for hours with the guitar, like going between 132 and 131, or to get it just right, and then tell Colin the beats per minute.
Sure.
And then you guys would come in, and then at least you'd always have it. It wouldn't be like, oh, it sounds great, but it's too slow, or it sounds
Right.
great, but it's too fast. It'd be really locked in.
Yeah.
And that was another compliment I got on that CD, which is called Aztec King.
Yep.
That all the songs were like in a nice beats per minute
Cool.
with John Peckman,
Hey,
bringing it,
you know what I'm saying?
making it danceable.
Of course. Oh yeah. Yeah. Of course. Of course. Did you? So, are you a bass player?
I started out on the bass
Right.
because I loved Paul McCartney and
Right.
I loved Brian Wilson, and I still love the bass.
Sure.
The only reason that I got into guitar was to write songs. People
Right.
would say, well, you can't write songs on a bass.
Sure.
So then I would sit around the house with the guitar, writing songs. And so I love them both now. You know, I love to play the guitar, and then I got into practicing some lead guitar bits, but I still love to play the bass. I got one. We went on vacation to Germany, and they have a place called Checkpoint Charlie Guitars.
Oh, wow.
Right?
That's
so
funny.
cool. I know. So they said, "Do you care if they're used guitar?" I said, "No." So we went there, and I got the Beatles Hofner bass, the one that was the model that was stolen from Paul originally. So I have the real original one. It sounds beautiful.
not necessarily
We're going to record on that soon.
Okay.
We have projects coming up.
That's right. So not the violin shape, but a different shape.
No, it's
right?
still the violin shape, but
okay.
it's even more of a violin shape. I should have brought a picture of it.
Yeah.
And it is a beautiful, beautiful instrument.
Hey, that's cool.
And so I smuggled that out of Berlin. I didn't even have enough money for the case, but it was so exciting to see that one there.
Sure,
so,
you just
so we
swallowed
bought it.
it.
Yeah.
Kept it within yourself and then later extracted it somehow. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's kind of wild. And then, so when did you just decide I'm going to write songs?
Yeah,
like
and I'm
that,
really...
Rather than what most of us do, learn other people's songs and then that's it. You were like, I'm going to be a songwriter, a writer of songs.
Yeah, and what comes to mind is when I was in school, I was studying this...
Your dog appears to have expired.
He's relaxed.
Just checking on
He's
him.
heard all the stories
Good,
before.
Yeah, he's asleep, yeah.
I was in school and we had to read Syntactic Structures by Noam Chomsky.
Oh.
And the first paragraph was daunting. And I would get so nervous. I said, I don't even understand what he's talking about. So then I picked up my guitar and I started a song, Syntactic Structures, Noam Chomsky, and I kind of worked it through.
Oh, right.
And
that's right.
It helped me to,
I didn't know who Noam Chomsky was at that time.
I brought him to the world.
Yeah, you did, actually.
I was walking down by Cafe 9 one time, and this is it, because I never thought anybody would relate to that song. And a guy said, "Didn't you write that Noam Chomsky song?"
That's so funny. Tell us some of the words. Now I forgot all about that. Now that you say that.
I'll get my guitar.
Oh, okay, even better.
Now I haven't practiced this.
Oh, the dog woke up now.
Let's see what we have
Hey,
here.
Pooch.
I think it was D.
All right. Well, hold on. Wait.
Does it make any noise?
No, hold on.
What
yeah, we're good.
would
All
say?
right, an original performance right now.
And I haven't done this in years.
The name of the song is
Noam Chomsky.
Noam Chomsky.
What good would saying I'm sorry do anyway? My words are falling like leaves to the ground. You were waiting for me to comfort you, but I was trying to pin Noam Chomsky down. I was arguing that this war is illegal, while you were worried about a friend. I said something cold, intellectual, but I didn't mean to hurt you, and I'll try not to hurt you again. What good was saying I love you do anyway? My words are falling like leaves to the ground. You were waiting for me to comfort you, but I was trying to pin Noam Chomsky down. We're all trying to pin Noam Chomsky down. Nobody can pin Noam Chomsky down.
It's true. Do you think that's true still?
Yes.
Those are still your feelings about Noam Chomsky?
Well,
That's
Noam
beautiful.
Chomsky, when I was studying to be an English teacher, he had an idea that teaching grammar was a waste of time. And so I said, well, that's crazy.
Well, who said that?
Noam Chomsky does.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's a linguist.
Yes, but his idea is that you acquire language, a student,
Sure.
through listening to other students, through listening to the radio, through listening to music.
Sure.
And the process of analyzing grammar is a complicated thing. So it's kind of like, I think they do that with that Japanese way of teaching music, where before they teach the kids the notes and everything, they just have them like relating to the instrument and
Sure.
the sounds.
Sure.
So it would be the same thing. So in the beginning of the class,
Because you learn in some sort of social context or something.
yeah.
Rather than,
And he has a thing called the language acquisition device. That's in your brain.
oh boy.
And as you get older, it shrinks. So when we get older, it's harder for us to learn a new language.
Sure.
But kids can learn Chinese or Japanese or anything when they're young. So I said, that's the first time that ever happened, that in the beginning of the chorus, I said, I don't think this guy is right. And at the end, I changed my opinion. And thus, he got a song.
That Noam Chomsky is mercurial.
I sent it to him, and he never responded. But,
Wow. Oh, wow.
he may not have good taste in music.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. No, he's not. I've seen him. He's not looking good.
He's looking very old. Yeah. He's been around for a long time.
He has.
Yeah.
He has. Wow, that's funny.
And he's respected around the world for his
Sure.
linguistics.
Sure.
And has a lot of political views.
Sure.
He's right in the thick of it. I don't agree with all of his political views, but he's always interesting to listen to.
Sure. Oh man, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, that's funny. So, was that a true story? You were neglecting a relationship because you were
Yes, I
sidetracked.
had
the semantics.
Yes, I had a roommate in the other room, and she came in and asked me something, and I was busy. I may have been composing that on the toilet once I heard that Paul McCartney wrote things on the toilet.
You just thought, I'm never leaving. I'm just going to stay here forever and wait.
So I heard her feelings, and
well,
but it became a big hit in the Cafe 9 area.
Yeah.
So
well,
cultured.
I mean, I think it's I forgot all about that, and then when I heard it, I was like, yeah, I remember this tune.
And we had to know who played. Oh.
I mean,
I couldn't get you one time, and they got another guy from 8 to the Bar who used to play with them, who went to Berkeley School of Music or something.
Sure.
And he came in and he did that one. No, wait. No, I'm sorry. That was Jeff Hyde. Jeff Hyde is a friend of mine. He's a public relations individual person for the Rand Corporation. Oh. And we've been playing
Noam Chomsky hates that corporation.
Yeah, I know. Well,
particularly.
I'm going to leave it between Jeff and Noam Chomsky to work that out. But Jeff's is a sweet guy, and he played on that song and some of the other ones that you didn't play on. I think you played on most of them, though.
Yeah, I have that CD somewhere. Aztec King.
Mm-hmm.
Why Aztec King? So that was the one. Did we finish that at Collins, or was that? When did you go to Jim's?
Well, there's a rumor that you're going to show a video at the end of this show called "Writing the Lyrics for Brian Wilson All Day." So that's when I had this job. I don't even know how to describe it. I was working in front of a tractor, and I had to pick things up, and the tractor was like going to run me over and then get it out of the way. And then we went and did some sheetrocking, all to pay for the studio stuff. And
you make me feel guilty.
I know, and this was my challenge. I mean, Brian Wilson had Capitol Records and all the money and everything,
right,
and I'm doing it on the fly,
trying to stay ahead of the tractor.
But I had John Peckman and Michael Corsini.
Well,
David Stadalnik. I was on rhythm and lead guitar on that one, and we had a theremin, which, if people don't know, that's by a Russian scientist, and they use like.
It's the antenna thing.
Yeah, it's like waves of magnetic waves.
Yeah, sure.
So when Brian on Good Vibrations, it goes woo woo, and we put that on, and then I brought you an Udu drum from the original man that brought Udu out of Africa.
Right. We're talking about this, yeah.
And you also played hand claps on that, and two drum sessions, one at Collins and one at Jim Chapdelaine.
That's right. We did drums on drums.
And Jim Chapdelaine, I'll give him credit. He did he reversed your cymbal on one thing, right? Before it goes in, it goes shh.
Oh, yeah?
Into the thing. That was fun.
Yeah.
And who else? Cynthia played organ on that. I said, Colin, play some saxophone. He said, the Beach Boys never used saxophone, so
right,
I don't know. Sure. And what else do we have on that?
Yeah, that was quite a production. Yeah, I remember that. Drums on drums. I remember that. Yeah.
Let me ask you now, on live with the camera in your face, did you think we overdid it with the second thing of drums or not?
I honestly, I don't remember, but that's not a far out concept.
Yeah.
I mean,
you had this great groove, but I just wanted you to add a few more extra, like, rolls and stuff like that. I thought it came out good. I was happy with it.
I mean, it's a what's the word? I don't know what the word is. It's overdone. That's the point.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right?
Well, even at the end, we have the dog barking and the oodoo drum and the train going through. So it's kind of satirical. And in the video, we have the Blues Brothers picking him out of bed and getting him back on the surfboard.
So two drum tracks. That's whatever.
What more could people want from a single song?
Right.
I ask you.
Yeah, you
John
only
Peckman.
need this one song ever. Yeah. Yeah. So it was one album?
One album. And now I have...
so it started at Collins and ended at Jim's probably.
Yeah.
Why Jim?
Michael Corsini... Colin was booked, and Michael Corsini said... John Peckman likes this guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Jim Chapdelaine.
I was up there by then.
And he also did a beautiful, we did a song called I'm in Love with Patsy Cline.
Wow.
And Jim Chapdelaine's guitar stuff on that was incredible.
Yeah.
And your drums, I don't know if you remember, it had like a fake ending.
I don't.
And I did a little Paul McCartney bass solo on it at the end with
remember.
my...
I got to dig this out.
Oh, it's a good one.
I remember... what do I remember? Aztec King. Mm-hmm.
Gotta Shout It, you played on.
Which one?
Gotta Shout It. That was like almost like a Motown kind of feel.
I'll have to listen to that record again.
Well, you can go on YouTube and put in my name, David Stadalnik, Stadalnik, and there's 30 songs there with videos.
Oh, good. Oh, hey, there you go.
With a lot of you on it.
We'll check it out. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't realize. I thought so one and done. You're like the one album.
No, because then people were already putting stuff just like single songs on YouTube.
Yeah, so you're like.
So I got into a thing where like, okay, well, I'll just put the single songs out there.
So you still made stuff.
I'm still making stuff. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that was
yeah.
just the album, the CD era.
Yeah.
And that was the way you did it.
Yeah, we just did one out in California. It's a refry, and humbly so, of Beatles' Revolution.
Okay.
Jeff played the drums on that. Jeff Hyde, and this guy, L.A. Keyboard player, he was wild on that, and it came out really cool. It has like a it's like a funk. It's a funkier beat. It's a different kind. It's different, and so it's kind of cool. And of course, I would never compare myself to them, but it came out good.
Wow.
So that's something recent. And
so
then
you moved to California at some point, because I lost track of you.
Yes, I did. I went out to see a friend of mine who does special effects.
Okay.
His name is Al Maglicetti. He did this, worked on Star Trek and stuff like that.
Wow.
And I went off on my week's vacation, where it was ice and snow. I was teaching in the Orange school system.
Sure.
I went out onto a pier in Huntington Beach. You walk all the way out, and then they have a place called Ruby's where they have hamburgers and everything. Okay. I walked in, and they had the Beach Boys gold records on the wall. I thought I was in heaven.
Yeah, you were like, I'm here.
And then I flew back, and we landed in LaGuardia at 4 a.m, and they said, we're sorry, we have to deplane you without hooking up to the thing because we don't have enough. And so I got off, and the ice was coming down the back of my neck, and the jets were throwing the snow into my face. And I said, what's wrong with this picture? I was just in paradise. Right. So I've been out there now for 20 years.
Oh, whoa. I didn't realize it was that long. Hey, that's cool. You just said that's where I want to be. Mm-hmm. Wow. Good for you. You like it? You like it out there?
Yeah, it worked out really well for me.
Where are you?
Well, I just
Newport Beach.
No, I'm in Lake Elsinore. We had our boat in Newport Beach.
Okay.
Oh, you know, an interesting story.
Your phone comes up.
Yeah, I have our boat. You know, it's in love with all of the Beach Boys, and where my boat is next door to where Dennis passed away.
Oh boy. Okay.
And so it took me I didn't even want to know for a long time. And then I said, well, I kind of want to find out now. So I went on YouTube, and I thought, wow, what a coincidence, because he was one of my idols. Sure. And here's our boat, and that's where his boat was. So I'm hoping he's in a better place. I'm sure he is.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Oh, and I gave the Brian Wilson song that you played to Brian Wilson.
And
he wasn't interested until he thought it was until he heard it was a song about him. I said, "Well,
Sure.
it's an homage to you." And his wife was with him, who was very nice. And then he took an interest in it. So as far as I know, he has listened to it.
Yeah.
Heard John Peckman on the drums, and yours truly singing, writing the lyrics for Brian Wilson all
How come
day.
I haven't heard from him? He probably, you know what? He probably listened to it and said, "I like that one drummer, but not the other one," not realizing they're both me. He's like, "I like the guy on the left." Not the guy on the right.
Well, then I was telling you on a private conversation that he did his last thing at the Pantages Theater of Smile.
Yeah, yeah.
And I walked my way into behind stage without having the ticket. And then I got in the line and I got to meet him. Al Jardine was there, Blondie Chapman.
Wow.
And I said, "Brian," I said, "do you remember me? I gave you this the CD about writing the lyrics for you."
And he said, "I've been trying to find you ever since."
He was so nice and so sweet. He was laughing, and then the security grabbed me. They realized I didn't have the sticker on to be there, and they took me out. So that's.
And you got tased right in front of Brian Wilson. Can you imagine? That would be a song. Tased in front of Brian Wilson. So how did you meet him the first time? Just tell me the circumstances.
He was doing a autographing thing when he came. You know how he goes, kind of retreats from the world for a while?
Sure.
And then he comes out, and so part of his coming out thing was he was signing autographs, and I was in line, and they were just about to stop it, and I was heartbroken.
Oh, boy.
We had gone, it was over here when I was still in Connecticut. A friend of mine, we took the ferry over to Long Island.
Oh.
And they were just about to cut it off, and then I got it in, and I was able to give it to him. And like I say, he took interest in it because I told him it was an homage to him and his music.
Sure. That's wild. That's kind of wild.
He was a very nice man, very nice, very sweet. It was wonderful.
That's cool. I'm lucky, fortunate. I saw him do Smile before they released like the newer version. Of course, now it's 2004 or whatever. But when it was, he's going to perform Smile in its entirety, which we had never heard. I saw him in Boston. Because once you hear the CD in 2004, the arrangement, that was wild enough. But I actually saw them perform it before. That was hearing it live just the first time. It was just like, whoa.
Yeah, I did too. I saw him at the Hollywood Bowl do that, and I took a friend of mine who was a good drummer. He works in Hollywood now, Gabriel Della Parra, and he came with me, and we saw the whole thing, and it was cool. They had a classical orchestra there.
Sure.
And the guy from the orchestra commented, I can't remember how this happened, but after they came out and played Good Vibrations, and the classical guy came out and said, "There's nothing I can do after that." So
right.
In California, it was incredible.
Crazy. For people, I'll just try to make it quick. Like for people who don't know, so Brian Wilson, so Smile, unreleased at the time because he just couldn't pull it all together, but he was kind of doing this thing where it was little pieces. Instead of writing a song, complete song, you write pieces, small pieces, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, a minute, whatever, and had all these different pieces and was going to put them together, presumably in some order, but then never got to abandon the project. And over years, nerds like us would find all the pieces.
Right.
We didn't know what order they went in.
Right.
So I don't know if you ever did this,
Yes.
but I had a couple of nerdy friends, and it would be like, "What's your version?" And we would I would edit and put things together and go, "Here's what I think it should be. Here's what I think it should be," and then to hear him play it, it was like, "Oh, okay, this makes more sense." But that's it's like remember we used to do the things on the fridge, the words.
Yes.
My cat did the.
Yep.
It was like that. It was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, I hear how this makes sense because we knew what most of the pieces were. We just didn't know what order they were supposed to go in. And then when you hear it, you're like, "Oh, okay." Anyway.
I took some lessons from this gentleman, Tony Lombardozzi. He was the artist in residence at Wesleyan. Used to play with Ray Charles, And was hired to do a thing at a party, and they wanted some Cole Porter and some Gershwin, and I was just doing rock and roll, so I said, I got to get some lessons on this. So I went in, I was like, wow, you're the right guy. And he said, you should keep going with this jazz. And I said, well, I really like rock and roll. And he said, no, it's all trash, it's all trash. And I said to him, what about Brian Wilson? And he goes,
well, that's not rock and roll.
You got me there. And he said, when I hear that in my car, I've got to pull the car over to listen to it.
Yeah.
So the things, and I don't understand all of it, but these people that are really brilliant, I mean, they say he's on the level of like Bach and a classical composer.
That's what they say.
You listen to those harmonies, and I think he said they were all resolved like in a classical kind of way, like somebody like
sure.
Mozart or
and he didn't study. So
no,
he was just plugged into the...
And then you have Paul McCartney saying "God Only Knows" is the best song ever written. So it's crazy.
I saw it is crazy. That was another memory. I saw him do Pet Sounds in its entirety when he first started doing that. Like he first came out with the Wonderments band.
With the Wonderments, they were great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I took my mom because she likes Pet Sounds, and I went with my mom and a couple of friends. And I know what order the album is, but I don't know if everybody did or my mom or whatever. But it was amazing. They're playing everything. Of course, "God Only Knows" is the first song on side 2. And I'll never forget. It was at the Oakdale, so I don't know, 8,000 people, 4,000 people. I don't know how many people, but we're like, he goes, okay, they get done with Sloop John B. End of side A. He goes, okay, we're going to flip the record over now. And it's coming. I mean, "God Only Knows" is coming.
Yeah.
And you can't be ready for it. It's impossible to be ready. And I guess some people were not ready. They didn't know, but I'm just like, oh, here it comes. And then as soon as it started, like the second that the song starts, boom, boom, you hear the French horn. Everybody in the place, including myself, just went, like you just get verklempt, like it just hits you, and suddenly you're like, and it was hilarious because everyone just went like that, and then I looked around to see if anybody saw me because I just immediately was like, flooded with tears, like, oh shit, and I looked around and everybody in the place was looking around to make sure no one saw him. It was one of the most unifying moments I've ever been a part of. We all got whacked and then looked around embarrassed, and everyone was looking around. Like it was bizarre. And
it's like you're so psyched that he's doing that song, and he's so humble.
It's like magic.
He's like like as humble as you can be.
Yeah.
And I heard him say that every time he's done that, he gets a standing ovation. I mean, it's just so gorgeous.
Can't explain it.
When you see that song. That was I use that as our wedding song.
Oh, good.
Right. Yeah.
It's like a magic spell.
Yeah.
When you put, I guess, Eye of Toad and Tale of Newt or whatever, when you put all those things together, no matter how, because I saw him again, not too long ago. It might have been 10 years by now, but later, older, not as spry or whatever, but still, as soon as he hits "God Only Knows" or just Pet Sounds in general, it's a magic formula. When you put those sounds together in that order, it just smacks you right in
do you remember the Neil Young song where he says, it's one of the end of his songs, and he says, and I hear the Beach Boys singing "Caroline, No."
Yeah, right.
And when I was listening to that at the time, pretty close to the time that came out, I mean, it was so far advanced and different from everything else on the radio. It just sounded, the way it was recorded and the vocal and the chords, it was just like from Mars. Yeah. Harry's crying over there.
Okay.
We're almost done, Harry.
Harry's
Hold on.
Not gonna poopy on the floor. We only got 20 minutes. Hang in there, Harry. No, I know. I'm with you. I'll try to make this quick too. But I had Pet Sounds and Smiley Smile in the house from day one. My mom had those records, and I will never forget like grafting the emotion, the sound of it to the feeling. Like where I lived, we kind of lived in this little piece of woods just in the middle of town. It's really strange backyard I had where it was like sunshine and then it was shade and it was scary and happy, like when you move through the yard or just playing around. And that's what Smiley Smile always used to remind me of, because that album is just very bizarre. It's happy, then it gets kind of a little scary maybe for a second, and as a little kid, I used to listen to that album in my head and kind of roam around the yard and be like, that's what this is, this feeling of just kind of lightness and darkness and moving around, and things are cool and then they're not cool, and then it's just like a child's mind.
Exactly.
And now I realize when I'm older, I'm like, that's what he's doing.
And we were lucky, I think, to be children and hear that stuff, because I was transfixed with it. Because when you're a kid, you're more open to that stuff. Right. Remember the one Surf's Up where he goes, it doesn't even get to like a repeating chorus, and yet it holds your attention the whole way through. That's the one Leonard Bernstein had him perform on a thing. So again, there's another example of like a classical person saying, whoa, this guy, with a band called the Beach Boys is worth listening to.
Crazy. So you're still making music?
Yes, I am.
On a regular basis, like it's just still.
Yeah, I'm going to be performing in a little dive bar in Los Angeles called the Cinema Bar. I think Jeff might be coming down to do the drums for me because that's over by Rand. And I'm going to be doing some originals, and then I've actually been working on some of the Caroline No and God Only Knows and Good Vibrations just on guitar,
That's cool. It's kind of wild. Oh man, I forgot what I was going to say. So what else? Just kind of doing your thing.
Trying to spread love, peace, and love and understanding.
Good luck with that.
I know. Through the world with music. I've done my part.
Yeah.
I'm doing my part.
Well, that's okay. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine if Brian Wilson heard your song about Brian Wilson?
Yeah, I'm very shy. I can't even. I don't. I don't even. I'm kind of a shy person. I don't really promote myself very well. So.
Wow.
I always think, I'd like to call. I'd love to get a chance to do that. Go in with my pad and try to do something. But I've never even contacted his lawyer or this or that.
Well, hey, it'll keep.
Although I have been dragged out by security from him. That's
something. He probably remembers you for that. He's like, yeah, that guy. Yeah, the guy who got tased at the autograph line. That's funny. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to leave a little bit of room at the end of this. So we're going to bug out a little bit early because we're going to show a video on this. Hopefully, on post-production, we're going to figure out how to do this. Do you know how long it is? Was it like 4 minutes or something?
Yeah. Filmed partially in Hamden, Connecticut for the snow scenes, and in Huntington Beach, California for the Escape to California scenes.
A Pan-American production.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And you on 2 sets of drums, an udu drum, hand claps.
Yep.
And me doing lead guitar on this one. That's a rarity.
So remind me, I remember, what was up with that bass? You had this wacky hollow-bodied bass.
Yeah, it was a 1962. It's the same age as I am. I'm 62, so I'm 61 now. And what's that one? I get these senior moments I can't think of. The Rehab song. No, Rehab, female vocals.
Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, and I noticed her band, they have that same thing.
Yeah.
So to me, it has a very deep sound.
Yeah.
And I like that, So obviously the P bass is the bass of choice.
Yeah.
But I don't know, for some reason I like that really deep sound, and of course I like the Beatles sound too on the Hofner thing. So I always had kind of a different. And
you would have Michael. You would say, "Play this," and everyone hated it.
Everybody hated
Why?
it. And you defended me once because then Jim Chaplin was saying this bass doesn't stay in tune, and you said, "Mamma mia, he's already been through this with Colin. Just let him play the bass."
I did. I
said
that.
Yes.
Oh, really? So that must be the problem. It didn't stay in tune. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it wasn't great at staying in tune, but either is the Hofner bass.
Yeah,
and
right. I know. I have a fake.
Michael his ear was so good, he would get it just right. Sure. And then he said to me finally, and he loves his Fender, he said, "Oh, now I know why you use that, because it's just so warm sound.
Yeah.
Deep in the basement bass and warm."
Yeah, I can imagine it. But yeah, I have an Epiphone Hofner copy.
I have one of those too.
Got the floating bridge. That's why those are hard to intonate.
Yeah.
So, but maybe being slightly out of tune is kind of part of the sound.
You know, they
in a way.
used to do that. The Beatles and the Beach Boys. McCartney used to say that it was like when they were playing in the fairgrounds, and the guitars would get a little bit out of tune, and it sounds kind of cool. And Brian Wilson used to do the same thing, untune them a little bit,
Really?
almost like when it's too perfect.
When
it's too perfectly Steely Dan.
Then
you know, it doesn't have the same like timbre.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So they would do. McCartney says they didn't even use tuners. You'll see him like in that Let It Be thing. George will just tune up and whatnot.
It's so they're tuned to each other.
But the guitars are not perfectly in tune by any chance, and yet how do they sound? Incredible.
Yeah. So
people like you and I, John, we're visionaries. We're way way ahead of. Yes, you're a visionary.
Oh boy, is that bass still exist?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you have it.
Oh, I sure do.
It's on the wall.
Dean Falcone knows where it is because he's like, if you ever sell that, I want to have it.
Oh really?
Oh yeah. He's tracking me for years for that bass, but I won't let it go.
Okay. All right. So it is a real thing.
I had somebody who had to sell it because, you know, people were going to come and break his arms if he didn't pay for something.
What is it? Do you know?
Yeah, it's a Gibson.
Okay.
Gibson hollow body, 1962.
Okay. Hey, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, that's all right. You know. Yeah. Well, staying in tune is overrated, I guess. Apparently. I don't know. Being in tune.
Do you know what I mean about that though?
I think I do.
It's like when you
keep in mind you're talking to a drummer.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, you know, and I bring the tuners and tuned up perfectly, and then like I remember in Presence Studio they had these, you know, real serious tuning.
So everyone hates that. Presence hated it. Everybody hates that bass. Can you imagine? Like you can list all the places.
And I never gave up on it. Loyal friend.
Yeah. I remember my car broke down in Oklahoma when we were driving there, and I booked a studio time, and they hated the bass there in Oklahoma or whatever. Can you imagine? Oh, that's all right. Nah, don't worry about them. What do they know? They don't know. You know. All right. We're getting close to the end, so I want to leave room for the tune. So I'm gonna ask kind of wacky wrap up questions.
Yes.
Is there anything that we did not talk about that you want to talk about while we have this moment?
You know,
that you will look back and go, why didn't I?
A cute story was I had a friend who I went to a songwriting course with Roseanne Cash in what was that place called? The Omega Institute, and it's a very like new agey kind of you know. They call you to lunch, the vegetarian lunch with a conch shell and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And I had a beat up old guitar, and I played Aztec King, and she loved that song, and she asked for the lyrics.
Hey.
And then I saw her in Central Park sometimes later. She recognized me, and she had the lyrics. And I was always praying Johnny would sing it.
Can you imagine?
I know, it would be wild. So that was a cool story. And then another one was we went down to Nashville with a guy I became friends with, Alan, and he was house sitting at some kind of like huge house, you know, so we were like living like kings down there. And he had all these Nashville cats set up to do Ain't in the Picture, which you ended
I remember
and a couple other country ones that I did.
That song's hilarious.
Yeah, that was with
so it's a literal, like just for people who don't know. So Ain't in the Picture, that's a colloquialism, but you're literally talking about a wedding photo that she folded over.
Right.
And you literally ain't in the picture.
Right.
That's
and
funny.
that I co-wrote with James Stevenson, the cartoonist from the New Yorker.
Wow.
Because he said, I want to try writing songs. And they said, well, try David Stadalnik. He has a funny sense of humor. So we would meet at his place in Fair Street in Guilford. He was a really cool guy. He's since passed on.
Huh.
Anyway, so we get down to Nashville. And all these guys are set up for me, and then nobody shows up because Tom Jones hired the whole group the day before. And I love Tom Jones. I saw Tom Jones open for Morrissey in California.
Oh,
it was
that's
incredible.
Heavy. Wow.
What a duo. So then I'm like, oh, well, what are we doing down here? So they said, get with this guy, Tommy Spurlock. And I'm, like an idiot, like, well, who's this guy? And I walk in and I'm like, oh, well, there he is with Dire Straits. And there he is with the Rolling Stones. And I was like, I guess he can handle a David Stadalnik song. So he was the sweetest guy. And then he called all the people that he knew, like the drummer that played on the television stuff. Sure. And there was one guy that came like out of Appalachia with a fiddle.
Yeah.
And he said, "Are you David Stadalnik?" And I said,
You wrote
"Yes."
that Noam Chomsky song.
I wish. He said, "Are you a Russian?" And I said, "Well, it's Lithuanian." And
Sure.
he said, "Well, you're going to have to do something about that." And I thought, "Oh man, how is this guy going to be able to play this?" Oh man, he just whipped it. I started saying, "Okay, it's an A minor." No, don't just play it.
Yeah.
And he just perfectly, boom, 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 boom. Then he said, "You want a little mandolin?" I said, "You can put anything you want on it." And then we had another a guitar guy that was going off on tour with Dylan, Bob Dylan. And I saw him at Alan's thing, and I loved him. And I said, "Hey, can you come to my session on Friday?" Yeah, I'll come. And I was so excited. I said, "Oh my God!" I didn't even discuss like, what's he going to charge me? And he's with Bob Dylan.
Yeah,
you know,
right,
what's
right.
this going to do? I'm not going to have enough money. So at the end, I said, "Well, how much?" And he said, "Well, could you do like $50?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, yes."
Wow.
You know, so he played.
That's like 3 hours in front of the tractor. You know, or whatever.
But those are fun stories, I think, you
That's
know?
crazy.
And that shows you how good the players are in Nashville.
Yeah, right.
You know, they
don't even tell me what key it's in.
Yeah, don't even tell me what key it's in, you know? And they did 3 songs like that. You played drums on After the Rain, and he played this violin solo on that. Beautiful. My dad used to play violin. It's about my dad, so that was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then he played a funky honky-tonk thing in Ain't in the Picture on the violin. And I'm thinking he did something else, but I'm forgetting about it right now. I can't think of it right now. Huh. So that's it. That's my life in a nutshell.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, check it out on YouTube. Here, that whole album is up there. I got to dig it out.
I got to say, too, I'm working with an influencer in L.A. called Julie Borkin.
Okay.
We have a top secret project coming out soon. You may even be involved with it, but that's all I'm allowed to say at this point.
Oh, okay.
So I'll keep you abreast.
Will I know that I'm involved?
You will.
Oh, okay. So I'm not involved now.
No, you're not.
Without knowing?
Right.
Okay. That's good. That's fine. I'm easily influenced. Or easily influencing. Desert island albums, a handful of albums that you would take with you to the desert island to only listen to.
How many of them?
I don't know. 5.
So we'll say Pet Sounds.
Sure.
And Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Sure.
Also two favorites. I might throw a little Iggy Pop in there to make it exciting.
Sure.
I'd have to have then Elvis and Sinatra. That would get me through the tough times.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My mom discovered Frank Sinatra. She's in heaven. But there was a place on the border called the Rustic Inn, and this is where she went with her dates. And this guy sat all of them and their dates, and she said, "Oh, I like this guy. He was making jokes with us." And then the maitre d' said, "Frank, get up and sing a song now." And he hopped up and he sang a song. He was like, he was,
Yeah.
I was saying to my mom, that can't be right.
Yeah.
And then I bought a book called The Voice about Frank Sinatra, and he did that. He would like seat people at the table, and then he'd get up and sing with the band. And so my mom said, "That guy's going to be a star. I want you to write his name down on a napkin." And she had it, Frank Sinatra.
Wow.
So I say, "Mom, you discovered Frank Sinatra."
That's crazy. That's crazy.
And she also saw Ella Fitzgerald live in a little place in Connecticut with my dad. Can you imagine?
No. My mom saw the Beatles.
Incredible.
That's pretty wild.
Yep.
But yeah, that's wild. I got to make this quick. There's along Route 17 near here. Do you remember the Cypress, the old? I don't know if you're from around here, but there's it's on Route 17, right? Going to Durham. Yeah, through Durham, out near Durham Way. Now it's it's like a a wings place or whatever. Like, yes. What is it now?
There's one in Berlin.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a.
Who is this Ed McMahon? You should introduce this gentleman. He's very nice. He let me in the dog in.
Yeah. It was this. It was like a saloon, a bar back in the day, but it was the only place between Boston and New York when all the big bands of that era they knew that this joint was open after hours for the fellas, and like Sinatra and all the cats they would know it's over on the left.
We have that out in Palm Springs, and I'm inviting you now on air to go down to the East Haven Airport, ALLO or whatever it's called, and fly out to Tweed and fly out to California. You got to buy your own airplane ticket, but I'll put you up the whole time you're there, and we'll go to the Frank Sinatra Hangouts in Palm Springs.
Okay.
They even have the where he's buried.
I may do that.
Okay.
I could do that. Can I bring my wife? Can we
Yes.
be a thing? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We might do that. I could use that. But anyway, yeah.
Come in the winter. Come in February when you're really depressed.
Yeah. When the plane doesn't even connect to the building, you're just walking across the runway. All right. Desert island food, real quick. Handful of things.
Well, my favorite, when I am in California, I miss Sally's and Pepe's and Modern. And then I go for lobster rolls because that's the only thing they can't do out there. The lobster rolls aren't as good because they have those little skinny California lobsters.
Sure.
I saw a guy recently on YouTube. They said New Haven had the best pizza in the world.
Yeah, it could be.
So I agree with that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
So that's what I love.
Yeah, man. I hear you. All right. So, Dave, what we're going to try to do, there's a YouTube. No, he already played. Yeah, it was perfect. It was fine. Yeah. He has a video on YouTube that I'm leaving 5 minutes. We're going to drop it in post before the end. So we're going to do that right now. All right. So congratulations. You made it.
Thank you.
You made it.
Thank you for having me.
Why
so
not?
Nice. I knew, I came in from LA for this, into the hurricane for the John Peckman podcast. And I told you I will take a John Peckman coffee cup and stand in front of Capitol Records, and you didn't even get me a cup of coffee while I was here. But I forgive you. I love you.
You do have, I love you too. You have the mug.
All right. Okay. You got the shirt.
I forgot to.
And you got the squirrel shirt.
Yeah. We're all good. We got it together. This is all going to work out. It's going to be fine. Say goodbye to Murphy, or what's the dog's name?
That's Harry.
Harry.
Come on. Say goodbye to everybody.
Murphy, Maisie, Harry. There he is.
But anyways, John Peckman has a great heart. He's a very good person, and that's why I'm here.
See?
He does have a little attitude, but he has a great heart.
I do. Thanks. Well, you'd be surprised. I kind of need to hear that, a little bit lately. So I'll go with it. I will go with it. All right. So stay tuned. You're going to see a video of David Stadalnik song, writing the lyrics for Brian Wilson all day.
Correct.
Starring me on drums ×2. And also an Udu
drum at the end, and hand claps.
Yeah. Udu's like a clay pot.
And Michael Corsini and Cynthia Lyon.
Yeah, everybody's on
Mike Frost and David Stadalnik. And the dog barking. That was Harry barking at the end.
Harry's that old?
Yeah, no, I'm just joking.
Oh. Okay.
It's Hollywood. Just make...
All right, so writing the lyrics of Brian Wilson all day. Hopefully you'll be seeing that now. And this is the John Peckman podcast, and we're going to sign off. Listen, at the very end, Dave will tell you how to have your own podcast here in our studio. But check out the tune, and thank you, David Stadalnik, for coming all the way from California.
My pleasure. Thank you, John Peckman. We're going to be recording soon.
Harry the dog.
Yes.
And Harry the dog. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? John Peckman podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut. Come over the bridge, go 1 through a set of lights, look for the crippled dog. The reconstructed leg dog. And here it comes, David Stadalnik writing the lyrics for Brian Wilson all day video. I hope we can get this together. And thanks. I guess that's it, right? Okay, thanks everybody. Stay tuned. That is all.
If you'd like to start your own podcast, give us a call at Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance. Our professionally designed podcast space is here for all your recording needs. Rent out our studio to do interviews with up to 4 people, to record audiobooks, social media content, and all other recorded material. Our rentals include a private studio along with our professional-grade podcasting equipment, and we can customize your output to whatever your needs are. We also have green screen capabilities, which will expand to video capability if you so wish. So check us out here at convalley.net/podcast.